Morning, everyone. Hey, to start off today, I want to just say a big thank you to everyone who came to Story Night on Saturday night. This place was jam-packed, and the food was brilliant. So I see the back rows, almost all the people who were like giving a hand with the food and serving us. And can we just give them a big hand, because it was a great night. It's a quick change from church, like Saturday morning, to this awesome evening with it was awesome. So if you weren't here, sorry you missed out, but it was an awesome night. I heard from the guys yesterday from Fiji. If some of you have been in touch with them, they're having a great time, as you could see. And they said they're full of jokes. There's jokes going around all the time. They're working hard. They're pretty tired at nighttime, but they're having a blast. Apparently, Liam is like the guy that 100 kids try and jump on in the river and try and take him down. They're calling him John Cena. So, yeah, that's his nickname now. And then there was this funny story, and I thought, well, I have to share it because, yeah, we're family, yeah. And it was, they were playing touch rugby, apparently, and it was getting dark, and Kenny was standing next to someone and he said, man, how can they even see the ball? Like, it's so dark already. Like, how can they even see? How can they still be playing? And they looked at Kenny and they said, Kenny, you still got your sunglasses on, mate. So, yeah, they're having a great time. And I'm sure we're going to, expect some great stories when they get back. Last night also the Radiate guys went out to jump, and I think they had a blast as well. So there's been quite a bit of activity still happening at Gracegate, and today we're continuing with our series on Joshua. Have you enjoyed it so far? I have. I've been learning a lot, and today I want to start off with this verse from the book of Hebrews, and this is what it says. It says, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. Today I want to speak a bit about perseverance and not giving up. Have you ever felt like just giving up? Throwing in the towel, saying, hey, that's it, I'm done. Don't want to go further on with this relationship or this job. Ever felt like giving up, quitting, saying, hey, you know what? Nah, that's it. Drawing the line, yeah, that's it. There's a story about this lady that I watched her TED Talk, and her name's Diana. And I don't know her last name. Just Google it, all right? But has anyone heard of this story? This lady is incredible. But she had this dream and this desire that she wants to swim from Cuba all the way to Florida, all right? Swim from Cuba all the way to Florida. If you know how far that is, that's about 110 miles, all right? Swimming. All right. So this was her dream. She's like, man, is this possible? Can I do this? And this already happened early. I think she was in her 20s when she had this dream to try and do it. And she started off, she tried it for the first time, and she failed. And I don't know if you know a bit about the ocean there, but apparently it's filled with white-tip sharks, okay, and also block jellyfish, which is the most venomous deadly venomous jellyfish in the world. So she's swimming through that ocean to try and to break this record, and I guess actually not break this record, just make it to the other side. So she tries this for the first time. She fails. She tries this for the second time a bit later on in her life, and she fails. Her third time, she rallies all of her best friends together to support her. She has psychologists. She's got marine biologists, she's got physios, She's got dietitians with her, like people who are all journeying with her as her crew, and they want to see this happen. And on the third time she goes, and she doesn't make it as well. But on the fourth time, as she starts off from the Cuban Ocean, and she heads all the way to Florida, I think it was to Key West, she goes, and as she is swimming, one of these venomous jellyfish actually sting her, and she has to abandon her dream, and she quits. Diana. Have you ever just quit on a dream? Just threw in the towel and been like, hey, you know what? I just can't go on, God. This is impossible. I thought maybe I could achieve this, or maybe it was possible, but honestly, nah, can't do that. The story of Joshua, as we've been journeying through, give you a bit of a recap first. The first session that we had together, we spoke a bit about Joshua and Moses dying. And Moses dying, Joshua coming up as a leader. And when he came up as a leader, God told him, hey, do what? What do you need to do? Come on. Yes, okay. Be strong and courageous, okay? He said, hey, Joshua, I want you to be strong and courageous, all right? Don't be afraid, all right? Don't be discouraged. Why? Yeah, because I'm going to be with you all the time, all right? And Joshua takes this on board. His officers tell him this. He eventually, believes this. And he sends 2 spies into Jericho, all right? Jericho's the city with these gigantic walls. And these 2 spies, they go and meet a female lady who was what? A prostitute, okay? And actually, this prostitute actually saves their lives. And then they come back, and the spies actually tell Joshua, and they say, hey, Joshua, we want you to know that they are scared, all right? These people are terrified of our nation because they know that God is with us. And then last week, Hamish shared a bit about their journey and how they crossed the Jordan River. And what happened? What happened in that river as they were crossing? Yeah, it just stopped flowing, all right? And as a sign, as a symbol, what did they do? Cool, they put those rocks down, all right? They picked up rocks to remember, hey, that God is with us wherever we go. So today we're going to pick up the story, and actually chapter 5, we're just going to skip chapter 5, but do yourself a favor and go read chapter 5, okay? It's pretty interesting. I'm not going to share much detail about it, but I can tell you this. The women are pretty safe in chapter 5, and the men are a bit in pain, all right? And just go read it. It's sort of got to do something with this, okay? Check it out, all right? It's in the Bible. Go read it, okay? But chapter 6, where we're going to pick up the story, is exceptional because it's one of my favorite stories. And I think God often speaks through stories, and this story is going to speak to us today. And in some way, I know that God is going to tell us, hey, don't quit. Don't give up. Persevere. So we pick up the story. Oh, yeah, this thing. Thanks, guys at the back. Johnny Walker, okay. Anyway, the point of this is, if you forget everything today, because I'm going to read a lot, and then the story's pretty long. If you forget everything today, all right, all you got to remember is Johnny Walker, their logo, their slogan, keep walking. All right. Next one. Thanks, guys. The Battle of Jericho. Are you guys ready? Okay. Yes? Okay. Let's go. Chapter 1. Verse 1, chapter 6, okay. Now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Yeah, we have the Israelite nation. They're camping. They've just crossed the Jordan River. They're camping outside Jericho. And no one is going in or out of the city, all right? And interestingly enough, God has called Joshua, and he's saying to Joshua, hey, Joshua, I want to tell you this. He says, now the gates of Jericho will what? Securely barred. And why? Because of the Israelites, okay? I've often missed this, and I want you to understand this today, that God is telling Joshua, he's saying, hey, Joshua, I want you to understand Jericho, which has these massive, gigantic walls that you guys are actually fearful of. Guess what? The reason they have these walls is why? Because of you, because of your nation, because they're actually afraid of you guys, all right? And the reason they're afraid is because they have seen what God has been doing in their life. The story goes on and it says, then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. Here God calls Joshua aside and he says, hey, Joshua, you guys are camping outside. I want you to know that the guys are fearful of you, all right? They're fearful. And now what I want you to know is, hey, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, all right? What is funny about that sentence? What's puzzling about that sentence? It's past tense, all right? Here God is saying to Joshua, he's saying, hey, Joshua, I want you to know, you know your enemies, the guys who are behind the walls, those gigantic walls that you're very afraid of. I just want you to know that I have delivered Jericho into your hands. To which Joshua would probably be thinking, God, I don't know if you really understand, but I'm actually still here and the walls are still gigantic. They're still in front of us. Nothing's actually changed. Sometimes I see this in my life where God is maybe saying something to me in His Word, but I actually can't see it in my life. Where God is maybe saying, hey, Wes, I'm going to provide for you, but I can't see the provision. Or He's saying, hey, don't be afraid, but I'm continuously afraid. God here is saying, hey, Joshua, I've already fought this battle for you. I'm giving you the victory. What do you do when what God is telling you looks completely different to what you're seeing? What do you do when your perspective is completely obstructed to what God is actually trying to show you? Like Kenny, I guess, you know, where he's seeing this darkness, but he's just got his sunglasses on. Yeah, the nation, the Israel nation, saw these gigantic walls, but God actually, He saw, hey man, these guys are scared because of you guys. How do you view your obstacles? How do you view those enemies, those walls in front of you? Story goes on then. And yeah, God now says, okay, Joshua, here's our strategy. All right, this is what we're going to do. He says, march around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. All right. Now already, if I was Joshua and God is telling me, hey, I've already given you the victory, all right, like I've already delivered you from Jericho, and then He goes on and He gives this strategy to the army, you're already going to think, hey, God, I don't know about you, but are you on that stuff? Hey? Like, honestly, think about it. Like, this is the thing, that God is telling Joshua this, but what he's seeing is completely different to what's happening in his life. And now He's saying, hey, this is the strategy. Like, Joshua knew what war was about. He knew what war was about. And now God's saying, hey, Joshua, what I want you to do is I just want you to go and walk around the city, okay? Just go and march around this city and go and do this for 6 days. He goes on and he says this. He says, have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. And on the 7th day, march around the city how many times? 7 times with the priests blowing the trumpets. Then he goes on. He says, when you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. then the wall of the city will collapse and the army will go up, everyone straight in. I don't know, but if I'm facing a crazy wall or obstacle or enemy, and God gives me this advice, I'm going to do what any human being will do. And I'll probably say, well, you know what? I'll probably take a few weapons with. I'll probably maybe walk around the city on the first go and maybe try and shoot a few of the guys on the walls. Probably maybe this strategy isn't going to work that well. I'll probably do something else. I'll add to it, or you know what? Actually, God, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. This is his strategy. God says, hey, Joshua, just do this. Walk around the city for 6 times, okay? And one of the things he says is, I want you to take the ark, okay? Take 7 priests who are going to walk in front of the ark. And the ark is this box that sort of Hamish spoke about last week, which was actually a sign of God's presence, all right? They believed that, hey, this was a sign that God is with us. And as they crossed that river last week, the Jordan River, as soon as they walked in with the ark, the river stopped flowing. So yeah, they said, hey, I want you to do this. Walk with this ark, that my presence is with you guys. Do this for six days, and on the 7th day, I want you to walk around the city 7 times. Now, I want to give you a bit of context, because maybe Joshua and them would think, okay, that's okay, we'll do this. But if you think about their story, they have been in the desert for 40 years already, walking every single day of their lives, hearing about this promise, hearing about how they are going to receive this inheritance in this promised land, but actually never ever getting there. And now when they get into the promised land, God says to them, hey, I just want you to walk a bit more, okay? Anyway, Joshua, be bold, he's strong and courageous. He goes, and this is what he does. He says, so Joshua, son of Nun, he called the priests and he said to them, take up the ark of the covenant of the Lord and have 7 priests carry trumpets in front of it. So he goes to the guys and he says, hey guys, God's spoken to me, going to give you the strategy, all right? He says, this is the strategy. And he says, and he ordered the army, advance, march around the city with an armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord. Verse 8, when Joshua had spoken to the people, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets before the Lord went forward, blowing their trumpets, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed them. What's interesting about the way Joshua actually conveys and sort of tells them about the strategy? Do you pick it up? Do you notice anything different to the way God told Joshua? No. Joshua, when he goes and he tells all his army, he says, hey guys, this is the strategy. I want you guys to walk around the city, all right? And he doesn't tell them that on the 7th day, all right, after you've walked around the wall 7 times, that the walls are actually going to come down. He doesn't even share that information. But these guys say, hey, we're going to do it. And they go ahead and they start walking. Verse 9 says, the armed guard marched ahead of the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard followed the ark. All this time, the trumpets were sounding. But Joshua had commanded the army, do not give a war cry, do not raise your voices, do not say a word until the day I tell you to shout, then do what? Shout. He says, hey, when you guys are walking around, all right, when you're carrying the Ark of the Covenant, when the priests are going and blowing their trumpets, I want you guys just to march around the city. Don't say a thing. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. But then, on my cry, when I say, hey, shout, then I want you guys to shout. Verse 11 says, so he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city, circling it once. Then the army returned to camp and spent the night there. Think a bit about this, guys. I know this, I want to give you the context. This is an army. The strategy for an army is to go and defeat the enemy, to do whatever they possibly can. Yeah, God says, hey, I just want you to walk around these walls. Think a bit about it. What would they have said when they got home after the first day and they saw nothing happening? What would they do when they walk around the walls for the first day, and they're probably like, oh, it's probably just like the Jordan River. As soon as we walk into the river, we're probably going to see sort of the wall moving down. It's probably going to be like these Jenga blocks, like one lap, then one of the layers is going to fall down. But as they do this, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Can you imagine the conversations in the camp that night? The husband and the wife saying, hey, so how was work today? How are you guys going to defeat, the Canaanites? How are you going to actually destroy the walls of Jericho? We're going to walk around, what? We're going to walk around the walls. And how to go today? Well, yeah, not sure yet. Goes on. It says then Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. After day one, Joshua got up again. And I guess this is a big thing to, on the first day, hey, he was back up the second day. He said, hey, I'm trusting God. I've already seen him do stuff for us in the past. I'm going to see him do something in the future. I'm going to get up and we are going to walk. He says the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets went forward, marching before the ark of the Lord and blowing the trumpets. The armed men went ahead of them, and the rear guard followed the ark of the Lord while the trumpets kept sounding. Yeah, they go, marching around. So on the second day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. They did this for how long? For 6 days. Here's the army walking around for 6 days. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm asking God for stuff and he's revealing himself to me in some way, I want to see progress right now. I want to see something happen right now in this relationship. I want to see something happen right now where God isn't opening doors for me. But for 6 days, and maybe 6 days isn't that long. Maybe you're sitting in church today and you're like, Wesley, if you only knew my context. I mean, I've been asking God to be with my family for 20 years, and still I'm walking and I'm not seeing anything happen. Wesley, if you only knew the addiction that has taken control of me, and I've been pleading with God and hoping and praying that something will actually shift. But no, these walls are still up. Nothing's happening. Come to church weekly. And I'm hoping that something's going to happen. Something's going to shift. Something's going to change. Something's going to fall down. But still nothing. Nothing. What do you do when you can't see that God is actually working and doing something inside of you? Because what I would do, and what I've done in my faith journey at many times, is I throw in the towel. Say, God, you're not real. This can't be true. I've been asking you to do something for ages, and still I don't see anything. What do you do when you live in a country where youth suicide is so gigantic? What do you do when you live in this country and mental health is sort of taking control of so many young people? We're saying, hey, God, like come on. What do you do when you don't see the enemy falling down and these walls actually coming down? We lose hope. We lose trust. I can imagine this army as they journeying together. I can just think that Joshua said to them, hey, be silent. But I can just imagine what they were saying to each other as they were going along and walking around those walls. This is stupid. This is the dumbest thing ever. Honestly, in the day and age that we're living now, yeah, God has worked in the past, but come on, He's not the same today. We're not seeing anything happen. For 6 days, they continued to walk around these walls. And on the 7th day, they got up at daybreak. They wake up early and they marched around the city 7 times in the same manner, except that on that day, they circled the city 7 times. Can you imagine Joshua at this point? Maybe on day 3 or day 4, he was feeling a bit discouraged and thinking, man, I don't know about this anymore. But maybe on day 5, he was like, well, we're pretty close to day 7 now. And maybe on day 7, as he was walking around on that lap number 6, can you imagine the energy? Can you imagine the passion? Can you imagine the thought of, what if this actually happens? What if these walls actually come down and blows every single Israelite's mind? We defeat the enemy. What if? What if God is faithful? What if, just the way He led Moses and the Israelites in that day, He's going to do the same to us today? And what if God is faithful even to us as we live in New Zealand, as we come to Gracegate on a Saturday, as we journey with our own walls, that He'll be faithful? Don't give up on lap number 6. Don't give up when the progress isn't obvious and we can't see anything happening. Don't give up. The story goes then, the 7th time around, when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the army, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And I can just imagine that shout. I can imagine Joshua. Bet you his lungs were popping out as he shouted. And as for the first time, they saw those walls come down. Can you imagine the hope? Can you imagine the passion? Can you imagine the faith that these guys had as they saw God's hand move in a gigantic way? I've experienced that before. I've experienced God in a real way break some walls down that I thought were never, ever possible to come down. That's why I'm here. That's why I sit in front of everyone today and I share about God, because I believe in Him. I know He is faithful to us. And in the story, it teaches us that, hey, God is actually requesting us. And He's saying, hey, the outcome is up to me. But obedience is yours. The obedience is up to you. If you want to put your trust and put your faith in God, that's up to you. I've already delivered Jericho. I've already delivered this wall for you. And now, don't worry about the outcome. Just put your faith and put your trust in me. Today you might be sitting here and you may be at lap 6. But you're like, you know what? No. I'm going to throw in the towel. I just can't. I've been in this marriage maybe for 20 odd years and I just can't anymore. But maybe, just maybe, you're on lap 6. Maybe God is doing something that you can't even see. Just trust Him. Just trust Him. The outcome is God's responsibility. Obedience is yours. I thought a bit about this. I thought, honestly, the God we serve and the God that Joshua serves, He's someone who could have gone like this, and those walls would have all broken down. That's what He could have done. But instead, he works out this outrageous, dumb strategy. Like seriously, like there could have been so many better ways to actually conquer the Canaanites, but He works out this strategy. And maybe it's just because God is just saying, hey, I want you guys to trust me. I want to show you that I am a God who is faithful. And continuously I will do it again for you in your life. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. This story of Diana didn't end on the fourth turn. But at age 64, all right? At age 64, I'll repeat that. There's hope, okay? At age 64, she set out again with her dream, with her passion, with her crew. She left Cuba and she started swimming. She put her head down. She had all this special mask and gear so that she doesn't get stung by those jellyfish. And she just put her head down. She had her Walkman in or her iPod or whatever in her ears and just listening to music, and she just put her head down and she kept swimming and swimming and swimming. Through the night, she said, when your head is down there and it's pitch black, she said there's no lights. The boats couldn't even shine any lights on the situation because that attracts all the jellyfish or it attracts all the sharks. So in pitch black darkness, she puts her head down and keeps swimming. Apparently for about 53 hours non-stop. She lifts her head up and she sees this light in the far distance. And she achieves her goal. She keeps swimming and she swims all the way to Florida. At age 64. I love this story, and if you want to go and watch her talk, it's one of the TED Talks. Because it shows that, hey, don't quit. No matter what. All her crew, who were specialists in all the areas, they said to her, hey, it's probably not possible. Let's just stop. But she continued to go, and she achieved her goal. Today, God may be saying to us, hey, whatever your wall is, I want you to know I'm with you. And I'm still walking. I'm by you. I'll never leave you. The cool thing about that story is that the Ark of the Covenant was always with the army. God's presence was always with them. He would never leave them or forsake them. Imagine with us. Imagine if we as an army of people here at Gracegate came unified with, hey, it doesn't matter how big the walls are. It doesn't matter what those walls are. We're going to move forward with God. And we're going to see miracles happen. We're going to see God's hand happen in this community, in this country. The verse I started off with today says this: you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised.